that there will be others joining, but I'd like to respect people's time. So with that being said, we'll move forward with the presentation. So we'll start with introductions. I'll start with myself. As you can see, this is the flyer that went out for the event. And we're actually going to hear from Mr. Buford Jenkins, who is a videographer, Mr. Demetrius Walker, who's heavily invested in real estate, Mr. Deontay Reed, who's a photographer, and Ms. Tazia McKean, who's coming to us from Luxury Staff. So again, I just kind of took some action shots from our producers. I kind of went on their Instagram and business pages so that I can actually get you all to get a feel for who you're actually listening to, how cool these individuals are, and some of the dope work that they're actually doing in the industries that they're in. So just so that you get a little background information from your presenter, me being Ebony White, I am actually wearing multiple hats. By day, I'm a project manager for a health information data firm called DataBank. I actually work with multiple hospitals in the city with their, I think I have somebody. Yeah. I came back to Philadelphia from Virginia. I ended up landing one of the largest contracts that this company has ever taken ownership for and inherited with Jefferson Hospital. I'm also the founder of a place of their own, basically for youth development. This is the reason why we're on the call. We're on the call for you. And also, I am the owner of Ascension. This is the impact brand. People ask what I want to be known for. I want to be known for my impact. Of course, I invest in real estate. I have multiple properties in the city of Philadelphia. I'm also an author of a book called Ascension, A Guide to Feed Your Future. It talks about life and business. And then I also published a book recently called Mommy, I'm Messy. I actually wanted to just add one other tidbit. For each presenter, you'll see that I actually incorporated some of the videos for some of the things that it actually did, with whether it was in their fields or with giving back. And so right now, I'm just going to play a short snippet, and I will actually play that for each presenters as they either speak or right before.
Tells us she wants to bring self-esteem back to women in the community. We have a lot of young women who are engaged in prostitution, drug trafficking. A lot of them are actually in and out of prison. Many of them have come from homes that are pretty much broken. Ebony White, the organizer.
I just wanted to kind of give you a snippet of what other people are doing. I did I Googled my friends because these people are my friends. They're like family to me. We've known each other for years. And I just wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to see what's going on in different industries that you might be interested in. I noticed in the comments that some individuals are actually interested in the videography and photography, video editing. And there are individuals on this particular call who are actually doing just that. So I want you to have an opportunity to probe them, but they will be answering some root questions that I actually that there are other individuals individuals doing some outreach, community outreach, and you'll be hearing from Mr. Demetrius Walker as we move forward in the presentation. So first, without further ado, Ms. Talia Mateen of iBot, she's also going to tell you a little bit about her accessory line, Elite. Ms. Talia Mateen.
Thank you for that. As I was talking. But hello, as Ebony mentioned, my name is Talia Mateen, and I'm the owner and creator of EVAT, Beauty Accents and Youth Kids. So I'm a mompreneur. Um, how did I? So would it be best if I just kind of go down the questions? Is that what you? Would that be best? Okay. So how did I get started? Well, honestly, I've always been into fashion. Anybody that have known me will always tell you that I was always having like the craziest, most outlandish outfits ever. So when I was younger, I've always wanted a clothing line. I didn't know what the clothing line would be about. I didn't know who or what it would be dedicated to. But it wasn't until I had my son, actually 13 years ago, and I was looking for a cranberry leather blazer for him, and I just couldn't find a blazer for Easter. And I couldn't find a blazer mainly because I had created it in my head. And this was that year. This was the year that I was looking. He was one, and this is what started EVOT. So I was looking for a cranberry leather blazer, and nowhere around could I find it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have a fashion line, and it's going to be dedicated towards children. So in about 2015, I started to just sketch off the top of my head. I started to draw and basically put on paper what I would see. Then in 2017, I launched EVOT, and I said, fashion is great. It's going to be for the youth, but how about if I have a mission tied behind it? So I decided that the mission would be youth literacy because I had always been into educating children, being around children, watching them grow, having them really tap into their dreams. So that's how I came up with EVOT, more than a brand, inspiring the youth through fashion and developing their minds through literacy. So the mission for our brand is literacy, educating the youth. For Elite Accents, it's funny because that's where I just sell handbags. And honestly, back in 2012, I was in New York. I grabbed some bags and I started to just sell bags out of my car. Back in about 2005, I had met with Tommy Hilfiger. Yes, Tommy Hilfiger, the luxury fashion designer. And I asked him, I said, Tommy, I said, how did you start? And he said to me, he said, well, I started selling bags. I started selling pants out of my car. He told me he lived in New Jersey and that he had went to New York, grabbed some bags, started selling bags out of, I'm sorry, grabbed some pants and started selling pants out of his car. So I figured, hey, I think this is a way to really, really get my business started because Tommy Hilfiger did it. It's a great thing. So I started selling the handbags out of my car. And then I started to think like, well, if I'm selling out of all my handbags just from selling them via the car, if I made a website, my gosh, I could reach people all across the world. So that's how Elite Accents came about. Um, so I am in the fashion and education industry. Uh, I got started with Elite Accents back in 2012. I started with EVOT back in in 2015, but then I launched it 2017. Why did I choose to start my own business? I chose to start my own business because I had always been a leader. I had always thought outside the box. I had always wanted to be able to create some type of generational wealth for my family and provide an opportunity for everyone in my family to be able to come together, work together, and go along the same purpose. And I thought business was a great way to do that because I had always had so many different ideas and so many things I wanted to do, and I could never match those things with businesses that were already created. So why not create your own? Um, my ultimate goal with EVOT is honestly to raise the percentage in youth literacy. Um, so to not only have fly kids and to dress children with the finest leathers and materials, but to have educated fly kids because a lot of times in our community, we spend a lot of money on luxury brands and we're always looking fly. But a lot of our children, unfortunately, are just not on their reading level and they're unable to just comprehend. So with EVOT, my mission is to educate the youth, inspire them to be who they are, inspire them to dream, and encourage them to take their dream all the way to the top until they figure out how it can make money for them and they can pass it down. With elite accents, the goal for elite accents is to accentuate style, just to have a cute handbag or some cute accessories. Not much of a mission there. With elite accents, I don't create any of the items. I just use my fashion eye to select things that I think people would like. Whereas with Eva, everything you see, I actually sketch off the top of my head. It's funny because I mean that jacket right there, that gold jacket right there, one of my favorites. I just sketched it off the top of my head and look at it. I love it. Inside of each of our leather jackets, I have inspirational quotes to inspire children to dream and be who they are, to make sure that children are just individuals and that they can foster what's in their mind. Um, so ultimately, I love what I do. I'm really, really passionate about youth literacy. I'm really passionate about fashion. I'm passionate about confidence. I'm passionate about education. So my ultimate goal is to raise a generation of powerful, intelligent, confident, bold generation that's willing to dream and that's willing to be who they are outside the box, and miss the naysayers. And that would be it. And this fashion show we actually did with role models. Role models is a female youth group, well, girl youth group in Philadelphia where they look to boost and encourage girls and have them be confident. So we had an opportunity of being able to be part of their spring show, which was amazing. Um, the second, well, actually, my first debut show was in Miami, where I had an opportunity of uh, showcasing during Art Basel, which was amazing. My second show was during New York Fashion Week, which was just jaw dropping, being able to market my brand and talk about my brand and show my ideas and having my ideas come to life on the runway. And we also do have literacy events. And with our literacy events, we just basically take literacy assessments to find out where children need help with literacy and with reading. Right now, just with COVID-19 and everything going on, we're running a free online reading program for children K through 8, which is amazing. You can definitely go on our website. Not our website, I'm sorry. You can definitely go on our Instagram, evat.online. Be sure to follow us and check up on everything we have going on because that's where you can sign up for the free online reading program. And God willing, within the next week or so, I'll also be launching the Cyber Homeschool Helper, where I would be available to help children with homeschool, considering I graduated from the University of Miami with a Bachelor of Science, and I also graduated from NYU with a certified paralegal certificate, and I also worked as a mentor for Bill Clinton's America Reads program, where they were teaching the youth how to read. I'm really, really invested in education, and I have the educational credentials to be able to really give the resources to our youth. And that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I love to do.
Thank you very much, Talia. That was an amazing
That was wonderful.
presentation there.
Yes.
I appreciate you for joining us today. I also wanted, she didn't really toot her on the horn too much about the fact that she speaks multiple languages.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very, very rare thing in our community. And I'm sure that has probably made your life a lot easier in the fashion industry and just socially as well. And I just wanted to make sure that I had shed some light on that. So thank you again for joining us today. And does anybody have, before we move on to our next speaker, does anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Mateen?
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you guys can't see. I'm trying to something.
It's okay, BJ. So we're going over to Mr. Deontay Wade. I wanted to really shed some light, and I'm not sure why the rest of the pictures aren't coming up. I must have hit a different button. But Mr. Deontay Wade, who is a photographer. He does an amazing job at what he does. And without further ado, I'm going to actually unmute you and allow us to go on with the presentation.
Thanks. Again, I am Deontay Wade. Uh, so I guess about 7 years ago, when I was 25, I had my first photography camera. Only because I wanted to take some dope photos in Europe. After I took those photos and came back home, a lot of people were actually telling me how good they were. From there, some people started asking me for some work from, and that's kind of how I started my photography career. And I can't even say that I kept up with it afterwards. Um, there, I think there's some doubt sometimes that comes with any type of entrepreneur at some point. And probably within those first 2 years, not feeling like I was where I wanted to be as far as the people that I looked up to. And then there are people giving me money and they're expecting these type of, decent photos. I felt that sometimes I may not be able to give them what they wanted, even though they were already asking to do work for them. So sometime in between like the second and third or second and fourth year, I stepped back a little bit and just started doing things for myself. Built up some more confidence, and fourth year having a camera, I think I just took it to another level as far as taking photography more seriously. I currently have my own photography business. D-Wade took that, and now I'm a co-owner of my own studio, Good Space Studio, and we've been in business for a year now, a year and almost 3 months now that we've been active. Um, what else? What can I say? Oh, I'm sorry. Evan wanted me to talk about the viral moment that I had. 2 years ago, I did a prom that actually went viral. That was actually a point in my career where I felt like I was getting recognition for what I do, and I don't want anybody to think that you have to go viral to be recognized. But I think it was just a moment for myself to look back and say that somebody was seeing what I'm doing. I think that you always have to be confident in your work. The more confidence that you have in your work, the more people will pay attention to you, and the less you'll pay attention to them actually looking at you. Which it sounds a little weird, but it makes all the difference. You can't do work, um, or you can't be a creative and wish to please everybody else. Part of being creative is having your own personality and adding your own touch to certain things. So there's no real right and wrong way to be a creative, especially when you're talking about photography. You go to school for that, and that's fine. You learn the basics, but at the same time, it's what can you bring to that photo from yourself that nobody else can, and what can some of those people relate to? So yeah, going viral, that was a pretty big moment, and never know what viral is until you actually go viral. So I'm still just enjoying my time. I'm not trying to go viral anymore, but it's dope if it happens. But it's nothing that should be. There's nothing that should be on your list of things to do, I should say, as far as working. You just work and it'll pay you off. Have more confidence in yourself.
Well, thank you, Deontay. I just have a question. You've done some amazing shots, and one of the shots here is with younger children. Could you talk just briefly about what that experience was like, trying to actually make sure that you got the perfect shot with the younger group of children who are under the age of appears to be maybe 5 years old?
There's no perfect shot. And you gotta do when you talk about 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, it's literally shooting what you can. And somewhere in there, you're going to get the perfect shot. So I guess that's another point to make for some, aspiring photographers who are starting out. especially if you never dealt with kids before. Do not worry about it. Do not go into any photo shoot thinking the way you wanted it to go is how it's going to happen. Again, I've been shooting now for 7 years, and I've literally never had a photo shoot go exactly how I wanted it, but you get something out of it, as long as you just go through it and trust your own process, you'll be fine. And anything, well, I also wanted to add is to just being a creative, which is really dope, is you meet a lot of people. Nobody knows, nobody said anything, but I've known Ed for over 10 years. I've known Talia for over 10 years, but this is just relationships that I had prior to doing photography and them having confidence in them having confidence in me, more confidence in me actually at one point or another than I had in myself. And, to be able to be where I'm at today, as far as my business, I'm thankful to them and I'm thankful for a lot of people for having that confidence and putting that in me. And even BJ, who I met yesterday, and I didn't know that was him. But as a creative, you come across so many people with the common goal of just creating art that they like. So that's pretty dope.
And just to piggyback on that, I just wanted to kind of say to you all, like, there's so many opportunities for you to collaborate with individuals and also to promote each other. And the reality is, like, when you do great work, I know in the past, as I was growing up, I used to hear people say, never work with friends. But when you have great friends who are doing amazing things, you can see some amazing results from those relationships and even be able to capitalize off of those relationships. So I just wanted to add that in there, just in case you didn't actually see how things kind of evolved and how this thing came full circle. I knew BJ from high school, Talia, we both ran track. We competed against one another and we ended up like growing professionally in different directions, but it came full circle. We actually began to really collaborate and move forward, and just even seeing today how we're actually able to bring something beautiful alive. But I also want to go back because to Talia's slide, because I think are some of these photos your work, Deontay? Just because I'm missing a couple
Yes,
of
yes. Deontay took this picture right here. He took this picture here and he took this photo here. He took all the photos. He took this photo, this photo. He took all the
So
photos in this circle outside of the little boy with the red jacket. And then he definitely took this photo right here with the blue tracksuit. Yep.
yeah. So you see
I
how
just
that
wanted to
that
point
is
out that
like.
I don't know if anybody
Go
knew
ahead,
what you were
Deontay.
pointing to, but yeah, I did. I did take the photo of the guy in the tracksuit. Yes.
So but yeah, so just because there's two dope shots that are missing on his spot, I still wanted to just show you how things are actually connected. I'm going to go over now to Mr. Buford Jenkins, aka BJ, so that he can speak about his career path and how he ended up going into videography. So BJ, if you're on the line,
Yeah, can
we
you see me
listening to
now?
you.
I started off as a videographer. Let's go backwards. When I was younger, I always had a passion and a desire for the arts. I started off wanting to be an actor as a young boy. I remember telling my mother, hey, I want to be on TV. I didn't even know it was called being an actor at the time. So flashing forward, when I got to Simon Gratz High School, because I don't want to take up too much of the time, they had something called Philadelphia Young Playwrights. They call it PYPF. And what they would do was they would have these directors and writers come into the inner cities and teach the kids how to write one act plays. It was such a great experience. It fulfilled a lot what I needed at that time because we were yearning to tell our stories, yearning to just to be heard. So it was a great outlet, and also it counted as English. So I kind of started off wanting to pursue my acting career, and I got a chance to act. I got a chance to learn how to write plays, but I didn't really know too much about production. Flashing forward, when it came to production, I learned because I was writing a screenplay at the time, and I wanted someone to film my work. And if you go back 10 to 15 years ago, to find a videographer that you could afford to get a decent type of quality was really tough at the time. We didn't have the DSLR cameras. If you wanted to have like a video camera that you could change lenses and kind of have like a professional polished finished look, you had to spend quite a few dollars. So it made a lot of independent writers and young people coming up feel a little bit kind of catered off. Um, Nevertheless, I was researching, calling different people for the script. I had written a short film, and I stumbled across a young man who was telling me about DSLRs. This must have been around maybe like 2009, 2010. And I started asking questions like, what is a lens? What does a lens do? Um, when it came to the actual physical part of bringing your story to life, it was just amazing that I now had an opportunity to make that reality come to truth. And I just dove into it. I became a person who started off asking one question: how does the lens work? What is ISO? What is aperture? What is composing a shot? All of the things that a lot of photographers and a lot of videographers have to learn was starting off, and I was pretty much a novice. I didn't know anything. So I was self-taught. Now I did go to school for communications and broadcasting. I didn't finish school, but that's like a separate field. So I did go to school, so I kind of learned a little bit. But as we all know, you don't learn until you get out in the field. So when I got out in the field and I started practicing by myself, asking questions, calling B&H. That's a place where a lot of photographers and filmmakers buy their equipment. I also call it a school. So I would call, ask questions. I was relentless, but I was passionate about that. So once I got into, as far as learning about how to work a camera, I started realizing that I respected it as an art form, just like I respected the things that you have to put into becoming a writer. And there's just like as an athlete, I used to run track. So there's a way that you have to train. There's a way that you have to be disciplined. And I realized that you have to apply those same things to your business and so basically whatever you want to do. So pretty much the feeling that I had when I would run a race, and I don't mean to jump around a little bit, if anyone's been an athlete or competed in any type of thing, you know that there's anxiety, there's this urge and your blood is pumping before you would run your race. And I feel like that before I actually do an event. So I know that it's more so a calling to work for me, a calling. Right. So when you have a calling, it's not so much like what do you want to do, it's something that I need to do, it's something that I have to do. And I'm into telling stories. When it comes to the business side of it, true to the heart, I'm a filmmaker. But in terms of filmmaker, you really have to put a lot of work in to make money off of it, to support your family. So thus, that's when I came up with, I'll start a business as a videographer. It's the closest thing I can get to telling stories, even though they're both two different worlds. And I had to learn quickly that running a business, even though I had a passion to tell stories, that I still had to learn how to run a business. And you know, I was green going out, and I'm learning every day. One thing they say is you never stop learning, and I'm learning. So when I started my business, it was fulfilling because I got a chance to actually put narrative pieces together, even though it was in a videographer's world. So if I got like hired at an event yesterday to shoot at, and that's what I met you, the photographer. But you look familiar. We may know each other. But what I'm going to try to do at that event is, even though she wanted to capture her child going to prom because of the pandemic, I could easily just go set a video camera up, just capture the event. Me as a filmmaker, I try to bring a narrative piece towards that, try to find some type of a story, try to pull anything I can pull. And sometimes when you go to these events, you can't pull anything. Sometimes you may have clients that say, hey, I just want you to shoot this, stand here, and at that point, you're just a cameraman. So there's a difference between being a cameraman, there's a difference between being a videographer, and a difference between being a filmmaker. But I try to merge all those together if I have the freedom, if the client allows me to do that. And, still learning and I'm still growing. What I would say is like one of my ultimate goals, I keep going back to the word storytelling. I feel like us as human beings, we have a need to tell our stories. And as African Americans, we're not quite given that opportunity to tell our stories. We've always had other people tell our stories. So there's a certain freedom and a responsibility that comes with picking up that camera and, shooting through those lenses. I mean, your lens is your eyes of what you see already. The camera is just an extension of that, and you have to learn to work those tools to get that vision out, if that makes sense. So my ultimate goal is to, of course, take care of my family financially, but more importantly is to put myself in a position where I can not only help other people, but I can help other people, and that will allow them to help other people themselves. So it's like a pay it forward type of desire and a type of goal that I constantly am trying to attain, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely. One thing that I wanted to, draw out for anybody that's going into videography was something that I never ever lose contact with or go without noticing, and that's CJ's like opening and or closing for his work. I always know that it's his work because I see the guy like almost looks like he's chilling with the fan spinning. So definitely, you always want to make your mark and allow your work to stand out. I like the fact that he saw something different in the industry where he could actually find his own niche, but bring something more creative that other people don't actually bring to the industry, which is the ability to tell stories and also bring a unique approach. And I feel like everybody on the call, Talia said the same thing, and even Beyonce said the same thing. For me, as just a customer who has worked with VJ and Beyonce alone, they take control of their environment. They understand what they came to do, what they have to accomplish. And I also wanted to just kind of draw out that same point that Beyonce made, which was there is no perfect shot. Like even as creatives, when you're actually starting businesses, there are instances in which you want to try and make everything perfect, but everything that you plan sometimes don't go as planned. And I just like the fact that you all spoke to those points. But moving forward, I think that Mr. Demetrius Walker is on the call, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to speak next. Mr. Walker, are you here?
I am here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'd like to first start by thanking Ebony for putting this amazing event on together. As someone that does events, I understand how hectic it can be trying to put things together to bring people together on one platform. So I commend you for it, all that you do for the young folks. This is definitely something that I enjoy doing, taking time out to pour into the next generation. So I commend you. I also commend every other speaker that's here, an entrepreneur. Being in entrepreneurship for going on 19 years, I've been through all the ins, outs, and different levels of entrepreneurship. So kudos to you guys for taking on that task of becoming an entrepreneur. Respecting you all in all your endeavors that you guys do as entrepreneurs. My name is Demetrius Walker. Like I said, I've been an entrepreneur going on 19 years now. It's funny now. It wasn't when it happened, but how I got into to entrepreneurship. My last job, I worked for General Motors. I started the workforce very young, had some pretty good jobs. My last job, I was working for General Motors, and my boss called me into his office. And there were like 4 other big bosses, like on top of him, outside of the office. So as I walked up, I got called in. I kind of already knew what was going to happen. But long story short, they let me go. Boss said that he felt like I made more money outside of the job than I did in the job, and felt like they needed to give my job to someone else that needed the money. So, I took a deep breath in that moment, and I said, I see you got you guys outside the office. You guys think I'm gonna come in here and flip some things up. I said, but that's not who I am. I said, but what I will say is this: I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for this opportunity to never allow anyone else to be in control of my destiny. And I said, the problem is that you're twice my age and I make more money than you do. I said, I'm going to take 2 weeks and I'm going to go on vacation. And guess what? I'll still be getting paid, but you'll still be here at this miserable job. And the guy got like, he almost looked like a ghost and got red at the same time. He was so hot and mad. But I left out of that place and I went and sat in my car and I stared out the front window for about almost a whole hour, no interruptions, didn't answer any phone calls. But I began to reflect on my steps of life and everything that I went through, even though I was young. I mean, I was literally 18 when this happened. So I was young. Like I said, I started the workforce early, but what I realized is that somebody was in control of my destiny. Somebody was in control of saying when, if that was my only source of income, when that income would stop. Somebody else was in control of me being able to pay bills if that was my only stream of income. And I remember just praying to God, and I asked God, I said, God, I don't ever want to be put in this situation again. I never want to allow anyone to put a cap on my value and my worth. And I said that I wanted to start, my entrepreneurship path from that time. And I remember praying, telling God, I don't care how hard it gets. I don't care what I have to go through. With your help, I know I'll make it happen. And so from there, I started in the car business, selling cars. My first car I bought, it was approximately almost $300. I bought from a public auction. And I took that. It was the loudest car that came through the auction. It didn't have any exhaust pipes on it. And I took the car, took it home. I got it home. Don't ask me how I got it home, but I got it home. And got with the mechanic that did some work, that needed to be done to it. And I wound up selling it back off for maybe like 700 and something bucks. In that moment, I realized entrepreneurship was real. In that moment, I realized that this is something that I wanted. Nobody told me how much I could sell the car for. Nobody told me where I had to go to buy it. Nobody told me the amount of hours I had to spend on making my money off of that car. And so what I did was I sold that car. I took that money. I went back and out to that same auction. It's up in the Northeast on State Road, off of State Road. And I brought another car. Had a few more bucks to spend. So, I was feeling good about myself. The next car I brought didn't make as much noise as the first one. So I brought another car and I took it, did the same thing. Wasn't a whole lot I had to do to it. Got it cleaned up really good. And I sold that car. By that time, I was able to go back to the auction and buy 2 cars. So then, I'm feeling good about myself. I took a friend with me because I realized that, I took 2 friends with me actually, because I realized that if my plan is to come back with 2 vehicles, I had to be able to drive the one I had. Now, I didn't have money yet for tow trucks and all that. You get fancy once you get some money in your pocket. But starting out, I had to become creative, and I hope you're taking notes on this. You have to be creative at the beginning. When you don't have the money to fund it, you got to come up with other ways of growing the business until you get the funding. Moving forward, so I had 2 friends with me. I was able to get 2 cars that day. Those guys drove the cars back. They did everything under the sun that you shouldn't do, driving in the street with no tags on the car, but I made it happen and I made it work. I didn't know any better at that time. I just knew what I didn't want to go back to, and that was a job. So moving forward, that business just grew and grew. Eventually, I got my dealer's license. I became a legit used car dealer, still current to this day, and that was my first business. I then got into the tow truck business with a friend of mine, his dad, which is actually my current partner. His dad opened me up to the tow trucking business. I did that with them. So I was contracted with an auto body shop. And this is another good story. I'm not going to take too much time, Am I okay right now, Ebony?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I like to paint the picture so you guys can kind of see what I've been through, so I can talk about where I am and encourage you where you are right now. So one particular day, paydays was Friday, and this one particular day I was in the office to get paid. I got paid cash. It was that type of business. But the owner of the auto body shop had a situation where the guys in the back needed him to come in the back to rectify a situation they couldn't figure out. So in that moment, he left me in his office, and I happened to look over at his desk, and he had all the checks from the insurance companies laid out on his desk. And I began to look, I got a little newsy. So I'm looking at the numbers on these checks, and I'm looking at what I normally get paid. I said, this just don't add up. It just doesn't add up. So what do you think I did? Exactly. I went and got my own auto body shop. So I started my own auto body shop. I'm still doing used car sales, doing mechanical work, just figuring it out. Now, this is another thing I want you guys to write down. In business, it's not about the S on your chest. It's about the P that you could put in your pocket. The S on your chest is being Superman. The P is the profit that you're able to put in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the writer, but a quote that he said is, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. I'm going to repeat that. I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of my own. When I started on entrepreneurship, I was so happy. I was so prideful. I was so like, I'm a superhero. I can handle everything. I can do everything. I can play every position. I'm selling cars. I'm fixing cars. I'm washing cars. I'm going to get parts. It was a mess. I was a total mess. Was I making money? Yes. But had I known what I know now, had I had someone that could put together a platform such as what Ebony has right now to bring people on that have been through the situation that I may go through, I may have skipped some of the steps and some of the pitfalls that I had to go through in entrepreneurship. So that's why stuff like this is very important. And I take time out of my day to answer to the call for certain organizations. And so moving forward, I grew that business, did pretty well. Now these are all businesses that I'm doing. At 19, I actually got my first investment property in real estate. I paid $9,000 for it. It was a total wreck, like a mess. And it took me a whole year to get that project completed. Anybody that looked like they knew what they were doing, I hired them. Friends, neighbors, smokers, you name it. You look like you hold a tool, I was hiring you. But again, it took me a year, paid it all out of my own pocket. And I just continued to repeat the process. So I'm buying cars and buying houses, putting tenants in and renting it out. And it moving forward, I'm gonna fast forward just for the sake of time. I could literally talk all day. The real estate business was what I was doing as I was doing the car business. And then in 2009, I opened a daycare center. These are all businesses that I still currently have. Daycare center out in West Philadelphia, which has been doing great. It's pretty much like on autopilot right now. Went through a lot to get to that point though. None of this stuff happens just overnight. None of this happens just by a stance. Being able to build even a real estate portfolio. I have a 7-figure real estate portfolio and business that I run. I have a partner as well with that. And we're doing a lot of amazing things throughout the community, helping people learn how to get involved in real estate. Not only do we just do real estate, we've been through the rehab stages, we've been through the wholesale stages, we also build new construction projects. Our largest project to date that we're working on is a 99-unit apartment building with 30,000 square feet of commercial space. And also we have one building, we're trying to purchase a building to the left or the right on Broad Street that we'll be able to build like a hotel, nice high-rise hotel. So I say all that to say is that looking at me, I know some of you guys may not be on the camera, but you may can see me. I look how you look. I've been in your shoes regardless of where you are right now. And I can go on about me. I can tell you about the type of money I have and how I live and all that. But at the end of the day, that's my story. My goal is to always impart information on you and your story and to show you and let you know that it is possible. I'm not one to just tell you, oh yeah, you can be and become anything you want to do. I'm gonna tell you how you make that happen. So I hope you guys have a pen real quick, right? The first thing you want to do is make sure you're never, ever, ever in a position where you're chasing money. That is one of the biggest downfalls in business and becoming a successful entrepreneur and building a business and company. Never, ever chase money. You will never, ever catch it. Yep. Until you're able to put yourself in a position where you can have the money chase you, that's when life gets good. But it takes some time. To become an expert at anything, you have to sow in that 10,000 hours, what a lot of people don't do. They call themselves experts, but when you look at their bank accounts and you look at their background, it doesn't add up. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're willing to put in the time. Don't become listen, do not think about becoming an entrepreneur if you're not willing to put in the sweat equity, especially when you don't have financing up front. Make sure you have your credit in place. Some of you guys on this call are young. You shouldn't have a jacked up credit yet. A lot of us were born into communities that we did not get taught properly about financial literacy and credit literacy. Don't be that person. You're looking at a guy that never, ever, ever got a good report card a day in my life. I don't even know what an A looks like on a report card. Never been there, never done that. But I signed big checks and I received big checks. So if I could do it, you could do it too. I'm sure you guys are a lot smarter than I am right now. I just had the willpower to never give up. Hey, how you doing, young lady? We got an entrepreneur over here. She's trying to sell her products. I'm on a call right now, but if you stop back in about 5 minutes, I'll support you. You got Cash App? Oh, man, you got to get Cash App. We'll talk in a minute. Sorry about that, y'all. So that young lady right there, I would take under my wing and make her a boss. She took the total wrong approach on how to approach me and how to sell her product. I got something for her. I'm going to talk to her in 5 minutes. But back to you guys. So your credit, having your credit in place, making sure that you get educated on credit. That is very, very important. It can take you a long way, especially when you don't have a rich uncle, because I sure did. Now, all my rental properties I purchased them all cash. I rehabbed them all cash. All my rental properties are free and clear. I own free and clear. It's not the way to go, though. Nobody told me about business credit and business financing. Nobody told me that I can go get a loan from somebody to pay for the stuff that I was hustling my behind off to get the money together to do. I mean, on one hand, I'm glad that I have it, but on the other hand, how much more could I have grown my real estate portfolio early on had I had the proper knowledge and had someone tell me that I can buy properties with other people's money. Thirdly, make sure that whatever it is that you're doing is not because you saw somebody else do it and it looks cool. Make sure it's something that you can directly connect with, something that you can pour into, because at the end of the day, when you come down, there's two types of businesses. You got a product business or a service business, or you have some business that's both. And if you're poor at telling the story and selling somebody on a product because you don't directly connect with it, or a service because you don't directly connect with it, you're not going to be successful in that business. So make sure it's something that you directly connect with. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You got to be able to show that you care that somebody else needs your product and be able to paint the picture on why it will be a jewel or addition to have that in their life, in their business, whatever your product or service is. So those are some key things I want you guys to think about. Make sure that you're legit. Don't wait forever to get your business started. You do some research, get you a good mentor. That's very, very, very important. Mentorship will save you so many bumps and bruises along the way. I have mentors all over the United States. I mean, mentees from all over the United States. And even in my position of having mentees, I still have mentors. They're very expensive, by the way. Ebony has put this together for free, so kudos to you for doing that. Y'all better be getting this information. Next, start your LLC with that business, right? You got your LLC going, it's legal, documented with the city. Some people say, well, you think I should wait till I'm actually ready to, sell or this or that. You don't want to get ready, you want to stay ready. You want to be ready. You may talk to an investor like myself. I'm invested in other businesses that I do not go to every day, that are not in the city and the state that I live in, right? But had these businesses not been up and going already, they wouldn't get my money. So you want to be ready. You want to be in position. So when you approach somebody that's an investor, you may have one shot at them to talk about your business, talk about your product and service, and they ask you for your information. And you say, well, I'm kind of putting it together, or, well, I'm kind of still at the concept stage. No. You want to be legit. You want to have your stuff in order. If somebody wants to write you a check, you don't want to wait to have a bank account to put that check in. You don't want to be scrambling to cash this investor's check because now you're losing money. So you want to have that in order. You want to get your Dun and Bradstreet number. That's going to be very important for the credit, for your business credit side. That's something you can pull up the information and Google it. It will walk you through it. You can also call the bureau and they will give you, you can get on the phone with a rep that will answer all the questions about that. So you want to do that. And then after that, you want to get your marketing and branding together. Now that's something, you got people on here that do video, do photography, has already a product line. You got all the resources right here. I'm just a back-end business guy. I like being a back-end business guy. As long as all the numbers make sense, that's my position. And so moving forward, like I said, those are just some key things. I can keep going and talk all day, but I got to get back in Lowe's and get my orders together. But I just want to tell you guys this. You can achieve any and everything that you want to achieve. You just got to be willing to put the sweat equity in, put the time in, be humble enough to ask for help. Don't be one of these hard-headed, prideful people that feel like, oh, I got this, I could do this. Get help from individuals that have already successfully executed on what it is you're trying to do and become. It's very, very important. And lastly, before I end, I want to say this. Don't wait. I have a quote that woke me up out of my sleep one night. So many people miss their opportunity to fly because they spend too much time trying to prepare to land. My theory is this. I'm the guy that's going to jump off the cliff and build me a team while I'm flying to figure out how I'm going to land. Don't wait too long. Don't feel like, I don't have this, I don't have that. You're going to get it. The higher you go, for every level you grow in business. And this is something I'm telling you that I know. This is not something that I'm guessing or I read about. If you think about a house, all of us live in a house, condo, apartment, or something, but we've been in a house that has different levels, right? As you climb the steps of success, right? For every step you go up, you're able to see the next level a little clearer. So if you go up the steps and you're on the 5th step, you can kind of see the floor of the second floor of the house, right? By the time you get on the 9th or 10th step, you're able to see where the bathroom is, you're able to see where the bedrooms are, you're able to see what color paint is on the wall. It's the same thing when it comes down to success. Taking the steps. You're not going to know exactly what's on the next level until you get there, but you just want to be as prepared as possible, knowing that you gave your all and you did everything else. God and the universe align everything else up. Once you get to the 1st floor, you had an experience of coming off of the ground level of business to now the 1st floor. Now you're going to the 2nd floor. You already know what the process is to go from floor to floor. Now you're at the 2nd floor, and now you get to see what success looks like on the 2nd floor. It starts getting good when you get on the 2nd floor. Coming up to the 1st floor, it's okay. But coming up on the 2nd floor, oh man, the amenities is different. You know what I mean? The showers look different. You can get a little seat in the shower when you're on the 2nd floor. You get to ride a little better. You get to live a little better. You can come out the hood. The 2nd floor is a little good. But when you get to that 3rd floor, let me tell you, that's where it's at right there. That's where it's at. That's where you really got to draw in on humility because you feel like you the man or you that woman at that point when you get to the 3rd floor. But I say all that to say is for every level you go to, there's another level of people that you get to meet and network with, that you get to build with, that you get to share ideas with and share businesses with and support each other. And then the 4th level. Oh man, let me tell you about the 4th level. The 4th level is golden, I promise you. 4th level, you flying all over the place. You on private jets. You on yachts. You living life the way you want to live it on your own terms, for real, for real. I ain't telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I know. Anybody that don't believe me, give me a call. I'll prove it to you. But the 5th level, I'm not even going to talk about the 5th level yet. 5th level is like where I am right now. I'm not going to talk about it right now because I want y'all to experience the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th first. Once you get to about the third going to the 4th level, have Ebony get in contact with me and I'll tell you how to prepare for the 5th level. All right, that's fair with everybody?
Amen. Thank you, preacher.
Hey, listen. You already know how I go. I mean, I do have some other businesses. I don't really feel the need to talk about it. I wanted to share the information that can definitely connect directly with you guys and give you some tools, information to take into your future. I wish you guys all success at whatever endeavor that you get involved in. And just remember, give it your all. Give it your all. Let God do the rest. I'll take questions if Ebony's okay with it.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Walker?
Well, I do. I think that was just amazing, and a lot of almost everything you said, I totally agree with. And I know me, just being in the fashion industry, and really being a serious designer, like a real designer, not like, hey, I got this logo, but throw this logo over here and grab this T-shirt. It's not like that, man. I've been in the fashion since forever. And
Nice.
just really looking for a good mentor with the fashion business is challenging. So I don't know if you have any resources for that, because I heard you say having a mentor is important, and I'm so serious about that, and that is so true. You can't really get advice from people who are not where you are, who haven't been where you want to go, and that is
Absolutely.
so important to get to the next level. I mean, everything you said, like far as being an entrepreneur, like it's not this overnight thing. I'm gonna get some money real quick. No, it's not like that at all. And a lot of us, like I'm from North Philly, I'm from 29th and Allegheny. If we don't have it, I didn't have it handed down. Nothing was set up for me. Nobody said, hey, this is what we're gonna do when you get out of college. I put myself through college. So everything you said was so insightful, and I appreciate every word of it, and I respect that, because we don't have enough of our men speaking of that. And that's the difference that make a difference in our community and how we are as entrepreneurs today. Because like you said, you've been doing this for 19 years. You're considered an expert. That's what you are. I've only been in business really, I mean, wholeheartedly, maybe 2 years when you think of the solidarity of it, because I am a mom. Everybody has different hands and different ways that they go about doing things based on their lively situation. But one thing that really stood out to me was never giving up. And, I want everybody to listen to that. People will look at, I guess your Instagram or what you're doing, and they'll think, oh, he this and that, or she this and that. And it's like the only thing I always say that separate me from you is that I never gave up. I mean, that is just so insightful. So we'll definitely be connecting after this. I really appreciated your whole conversation. I really did.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, for you only being an entrepreneur for 2 years, you're definitely on the right path. All that you've accomplished this far. And this is another thing about entrepreneurship that a lot of people got to realize. You're not going to run right into the bag. Bag's not going to smack you in the face. You got to build that value before you get to it. Like I literally remember the day as I was running my businesses, I remember delivering papers, but this was the key. I had a choice of where I could deliver papers at. And I want y'all to really hone in on this right here. I had a choice of where I could deliver papers for at. Now, where I chose to do it at was probably a 30, 35-minute ride every day for me, right? I could have chose somewhere that was a 5 or 10-minute ride. But what I realized is that there was exposure in the area that I decided. We're talking about $2 and $3 million homes.
Exactly.
Did I have it at that time to buy a home in that area? I didn't. But it gave me an idea, and it gave me a snapshot of what I wanted in my future. Currently today, myself and my family, we live in $1 million home. And that's no self-gratification to myself, but all God's blessings. But he prepared me for it. He gave me an opportunity as simple as delivering papers in the area where houses the first day I went, I remember I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to touch nobody's lawn. I didn't want to go near nothing because I wasn't used to that. But over time, a couple weeks, it felt normal. It felt like I was coming home. You get to meet a couple neighbors, get to pick their, ask them questions and certain things like that. So just realize that you got to be able to trust your process. You might not understand why God might have you in a certain situation or around a certain group of people. But if you're open and you have an open mindset to receive, I promise you, he'll drop it on you. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I thought this was by mistake. No. It wasn't. You just got to be open and on point and make sure that you're focused. Don't allow people, places, and things that cloud your vision. If you do that, it will make it twice as hard to become successful.
The one thing that I gathered from everything that everybody said, and it's a quote that I want to touch base on by Rosa Parks, and she said, the only tired that I was tired of giving in. I heard that spoken by Talia. I heard that spoken by Demetrius, by Deontay, BJ. Everybody wanted to make sure that they were building a legacy, not for just themselves, but for their families, and to be able to feed their future. And one thing that I heard our former First Lady say is, your story is your strength and your power. That's Miss Michelle Obama. I want you all to continue to, build on your stories, tell your stories if you have one. One thing that I pride myself in is I pride myself as being the female success story from North Philly. I had all odds stacked against me. You got to remember, I had my father was murdered in North Philadelphia. My mother died of cancer, and my father died while I was in college. My mother died of cancer while I was in college. I could have given up everything. That's what I wanted to do, but I kept on moving forward. I kept going, and one of my mentors, female mentors, is on this call today, Ms. Rhonda. And I want to thank the Philadelphia Express participants or track team, my family that I grew up in as a track athlete, for being on the call as well. Because one thing that Ms. Rhonda reminded me to do is always go to God first. And not to just bring God, but I can't take God out of my equation, because that's who actually got me through every ordeal that I've been through. And the last point that I wanted to make is that one thing that Demetrius he's been a great friend in my life, but he's always told me, and he's another mentor that I have, a male mentor in business and in real estate since I've been owning properties. He said to me, I fell so you don't have to, because I was hard-headed. I was that individual that he spoke about, not trying to do everything by myself, because that's what I saw growing up. Sometimes our parents, like, they know some great things, but when it came to business, my family didn't know it. Nobody in my family started it, and I was the beginning. I was the first one to go to college. So I say to you, adopt asset-based friendships that you know they're going after the same things. They have the same ideas, mindsets that you have. Don't surround yourself with those that are, like, not going in the same direction that you belong in. And on the screen right now, I asked the question, what do you want your future to look like? Do you want, to be stagnant? Do you want to be hanging around people who aren't giving you support, who aren't mentoring you, who you aren't able to network with, who you're kind of slightly embarrassed by because you don't know what the next thing they're going to say out of their mouth? You got to actually figure out what you want to do and stay true to yourself. So with that being said, I want to offer you the opportunity to stay connected with me. So for those of you, I have everyone's email who registered. There may be individuals on the line who have not registered. I will be following up because we have upcoming events. Please do follow each of us on Instagram and Facebook. When you go to our pages, you'll be able to see tons of our contact information. I'm currently sharing the speaker contact information on the screen right now. And if you're actually watching, for those of you that called in, you can actually link up with Ms. Talia Mateen at iVot.online on Instagram, Mr. Deontay Wade at dwade_took that, Mr. Demetrius Walker at Meet the Emperor. He got a whole story behind that name, and it's pretty dope. And Mr. Buford Jenkins, aka BJ, he's at Honest Arts Entertainment. That's with 2 T's. That's Honest Arts with 2 T's and it's _entertainment on Instagram. If anyone of the young people that joined the call today, their parents that are joining them in the background, if you all have any questions at this point before we actually bring the call to close, please feel free to unmute yourself and either give feedback. For those of you that felt like this call was valuable, drop a note in the chat to say you actually saw some value and look forward to actually participating. But I want to open the floor up once again for any questions or comments that you might have had from this presentation.
I'm still on the line as well. I'm just in Lowe's and didn't want to have you guys hearing all the noise, but if there's a question for me, I am still here.
Thanks, Nate.
I mean, this might have been answered by a few people in their different calls, but I just have a general question for everybody in here. If you could tell your 16-year-old self anything when it comes to pursuing their dreams, what would it be?
I'm going to let one of the speakers answer that, and I can actually jump in. Talia, did you want to start off first with answering that question?
Sure. It's funny that you pick an age 16. I have a question. What made you pick 16? Just out of curiosity.
I'm 16 years old.
You said what? I'm sorry.
I'm 16 years old.
Okay. Well, 16 was an amazing age for me. And my 16-year-old self, what I would have told my 16-year-old self was keep going. And the reason I would have told my 16-year-old self to keep going is because when I was 16, I was actually living in Italy. I had the opportunity to study abroad in Italy. Little old me from 29th and Allegheny, I was in a whole nother country. I think that was the second time me being on a plane. Everyone told my mother that was the dumbest thing she can do, not to let me go. And here today I stand with that's being one of the best experiences ever of my life. I rewrite and speak Italian fluently. And I'm still connected with my Italian family. What a way to open up my mind to the world. So my 16-year-old self, I would have told myself to keep going.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
At 16 years old, I think I would tell myself that everything is okay. Because when you're 16, when you're a teenager, you already you already are starting to question the world, question the status quo, questioning what you have dozens and dozens of questions, and everyone's always trying to tell you what to do. You're not quite an adult yet. So personally, I would tell myself that it's okay. All of the questions that you have, all your journey, trust it, walk your path, and just keep going. It's okay. So if I could sum it up in 2 words, what I would tell my 16-year-old self is it's okay. You said you're 16 years old, so I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions, and you're trying to figure out what your future what is the outcome of your future. And all I'm gonna tell you is it's okay. By you even asking that question, it shows that you're thinking. It shows that you're trying to take control of your own destiny. And you're gonna run into a lot of different road bumps, sidetrack, and you always find yourself reverting back to the basics. When you hear people who always say, I'm just go back to what I know, it's because you already know what you need to do. You already have the answers already. It's just that this world and this society is always constantly um, trying to shift your thinking to the way that it wants you to think, which doesn't allow you to be an individual. So I think we already know as children already have the truth. Like if you look at child actors, they just live in the moment. They already understand. If any of you guys had children or have children, they'll ask you some questions that just make sense. So if you were a smoker and then your kid comes up and says, "Why do you smoke?" You told me it was bad for me to smoke. So why are you doing it? You can't answer the question. So I think at 16, when you're younger, you need to give the kids a little bit more credit for what they already understand. It's us adults sometimes that kind of complicate things more than need to be complicated. So I would just say again, 2 words I would say, you're okay. Just keep walking the path that you already know.
Thank you.
You'll talk to your older self and thank yourself later on in life.
Thanks, BJ. Deontay, did you want to add anything?
Yeah. At 16, I would just say be optimistic. Be open to other things that you might not think are on your path. I think it's great if you know what you want to do. If you know what you want to do, then you should just attack it, go for it. I wish at 16 I kind of had a better idea what I really wanted to do. I had the lofty goal of playing in the NFL, but that shit don't happen. Excuse me, that doesn't happen. It
I
doesn't
think that
always
was
work.
passion speaking.
Yeah, I was a little static, but no, it doesn't always go your way. And I for a long time, at least throughout college, I still had that one goal. So I think you need to be a little diverse in the possibilities that you actually have as a 16-year-old, and just try different things. Because even in my field, I do photography, but at the same time, there's a lot of different types of photography. You have um, you got portrait photography, you have product photography, and somewhere along the lines, you still find out what you want to do, even in your field, to narrow it down. So just be open minded about what you want to do.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
One thing I would say to my 16-year-old self is to stay connected. Like when you are involved in forums such as this, make sure that you actually reach out to the individuals that you feel can be your mentor, or that you can actually ask questions to. Definitely volunteer when possible, because service, when you serve your way to success, you actually end up gaining a lot from it. It puts yourself in a great position. The other two things I would say is to, like Deontay said, take initiative. Like Dylan and Raven, you're actually already involved in our weekly calls, but I always tell you, you got to do your research, and also make sure you touch base. Don't be afraid. Everybody, they're people too, regardless of the successes that they've actually achieved in their lives. Inbox them, DM them, email them, go on their websites, learn more about them, volunteer at their organizations or businesses. And the last thing that I would say that I wish I had been in the past is to be consistent. Demetrius, do you actually want to add something about what you would tell your 16-year-old self?
Absolutely. What would I tell my 16-year-old self? I would tell my 16-year-old self, fail, fail, fail. That's what I would tell my 16-year-old self. And I'm going to tell you why. It might sound a little crazy, like, what? Why would you say that? But at the end of the day, it's going to happen either way. And a lot of times, just like a car accident, when you're waiting and trying to embrace for that impact, you wind up hurting yourself more than just taking the impact. And so when you're 16 years old, try things. Be okay with trying things, and be okay. Don't ball yourself up in a ball and go hide in the closet because it didn't work. That's normal for a 16-year-old person. You're going to fail. There's no way around it. No, you can't stop it. You can't block it. You're going to fail. So at the end of the day, at 16, you're still becoming. You're still learning who you are. You're still learning what it is you want to do. You're still learning what feels cool and what doesn't. There's so many emotions and thoughts going through your head at 16 years old. But most importantly, be okay with something not working the way you saw fit for it to work. And then as you get yourself a mentor to help you through those failures, the only way you're able to gauge if you're grown or not is if you have something that did not work. If everything worked, you can't really gauge where your growth spree. So at 16, between that 16 to 18 stage, it's okay with just trying different things, finding out what you connect to. There's some people I believe is born with their thing. They're born with what they know they want to do. Like literally, there's some basketball and baseball players, when you look at videos from them being 2 years old, they were just born to do that. There's other people, such as myself, that I don't really feel like I had that gift at that point. But the more I got involved in things, the more I tried things, I realized what worked with me and what didn't, what connected with me and what didn't. And at 16 years old, that's what you want to do. You want to find out what works for you and what don't, what gifts you have and what gifts you do not have. Now, the good part is that once you identify that, you can then start building a team even young, because you can allocate or bring other people in on the situation that are gifted in those areas that you are not. You're not worried about, working on all your weaknesses. Work on your strengths. Build your value based around the strengths that you have. Don't build value based around weaknesses, because you will hinder yourself and hurt yourself from growing and excelling to the next level. So my 16-year-old self, get yourself a mentor as soon as possible. And I don't know if Dylan is on this call. I know I owe you some time, young brother. And I definitely going to get with you to give you that time. He's somebody that's been consistent. He's reached out to me multiple times. And I want to honor that and get with you on that, Dylan. But anybody else, any of you other people on this line, my services are definitely not cheap. But for you guys, I want to at least get a phone call for you to kind of help you put a plan of action together for you on where you need to go and to excel to the next level.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the call who has a question or comment before we close out?
I have one thing to say. I was watching this commencement speech by Tyler Perry. There may have been some people on the call that have seen it, but one thing that stuck out to me was when he said, never change the stroke of your paintbrush because someone doesn't like how you paint. And when you think about that, always follow what it is you want to do, no matter what. Follow that. Live inside your confidence, live inside your brain, live inside your creativity, believe in who you are. And again, keep God first. And when things are uncertain and you are confused and you don't know how, go to God. Go to God. Let him know how you feel. Ask him for guidance, direction, instruction. When the spirit of inconsistency or procrastination may come upon you, Lord God, my God, pray that off of you. And just stay focused on what it is you want to do, and stay focused within your creativity, and whatever it is you see, have it come to life.
Amen to that. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate all of your hard work, all of your focus, all of your dedication. I am impressed by the fact that you actually took time out on your Saturday to actually join this call. That means that you're already going in the right direction. There are so many different things that you could be doing, but you actually chose to feed your future today. And I just want to say thank you once again. Thanks to all of the speakers that actually gave their time. Please know that this is not the end. So if you're looking to stay connected, definitely connect with us on social media to see our upcoming events, as well as be sure to utilize those message buttons on the Instagram pages, because a lot of them connect to our email account. So definitely feel free to reach out. Also, for those of you that have already signed up, as I stated before, I will be sending out some more information on upcoming events and things that you can actually participate in. Thank you all for joining once again.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.